All right, so Masha, great to talk to you today. JAYBONE here from Total Nonstop Impact. Um, and you can catch Masha Slamovich every Thursday on Impact Wrestling, on Impact Insiders, and on Impact Plus. Now, the first thing I want to talk about with you is because I'm follically challenged myself, and one of the most impressive things that we've seen on you on TV is your hair, because I've watched many matches of you and you've always had your hair down, but now you come to Impact Wrestling and your hair is standing at attention. What is the inspiration for this?
Well, the hair actually came about after myself and Mickey James had a conversation at NWA about, upgrading my look. Obviously, at Impact, we have a lovely team of stylists who are able to help me with said awesome looking hair, which I cannot do on the indies by myself. So I've taken advantage of the idea that Mickey gave me for this glam rock mohawk, and I've kept it because I think it looks really awesome.
Now, for the men and women out there, what kind of hairspray do they use for this? I'm just curious.
Oh man, it's not even just hairspray. There's hairspray, there's like gel, there's something called teasing powders, there's like tons of bobby pins. There's probably more stuff. There's like hair clasps and hair ties. It's a whole process to get that thing up.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So there's a lesson for all the kids out there that want to start doing that themselves. And well, they can give you some credit then, hopefully. So let's go way back to the start of your road to Impact Wrestling several years. What inspired you to start wrestling?
I've loved wrestling since I was a little kid. I was probably like 4 or 5 years old. I saw wrestling on TV and it just called to me. I said to myself, man, this is the one. This is what I have to do when I grow up. It just I don't know, it clicked then and I never really let the idea go.
So and you started really young as a teenager while you were still in high school, correct?
Yes, I started training at 16.
So how so my son is 16 and he has a ton of musical extracurricular activities between plays and other jazz ensemble things he has to practice for. How did you juggle high school and training to become a wrestler?
I I only went to school, I went to my classes. Before my wrestling training began, I used to compete for track and field and swimming, but unfortunately, I had to stop competing in track and field in order to train every single day after school. I would religiously leave school at 2:15 or 3:20 whenever it went out, and I would just go straight to the gym and I would stay there until 10 p.m. or 10:30 p.m. and we'd just train and train and train.
Oh, that is something. I don't know how my son does it. It sounds like what you were doing is like an everyday after school thing. That's amazing.
Oh, it
Um,
was every day. It was on Saturdays. Sometimes it was on Sundays. I spent every moment I could in the ring because I knew, it sounds silly, but at 16, I thought, oh man, I'm getting old. I should have started earlier. So I thought I had to use my time as wisely as possible and train and get as good as I can as quickly as I can.
oh, it's really not silly at all. You hear about some of the women over in the Orient, Japan, and they start years before 16, like sometimes like 12, 13. That's wild. Now speaking of Japan, some of your first matches were in Japan. Talk about that experience of going over there. As now you this is like a couple of years later after you started training in New York and you went over to Japan for some of your first matches. Talk about that experience.
Well, actually, my very first match was over in Tokyo. It was for Reign of Pro Wrestling. It was a six-man tag. I in the span of 2 weeks, graduated high school, turned 18, and found myself standing in Narita Airport with a man who didn't speak English, didn't know my name, just held the poster of the show pointing at my face like this. And
Nice.
that's how my life in Japan started. I ended up wrestling over there for a month and a half for Reina, for Diana Women's Wrestling, and for Pro Wrestling Wave.
Now, a couple of years ago, you spent an even longer time over there during the beginning of the pandemic. Was that, was that intimidating being over there for a much longer time, or did you adjust fairly easily over there over that period of time?
Oh, I adjusted the day I landed. Like I said, having started my career in Japan, it really felt more like I was coming home than anything. I was so happy. I'd missed Japan for almost 4 years that I was gone. And to be able to stay there for a year and, live there and train with Chigusa Nagayo and Akira Hokuto and all these other people, the best experience I've ever had in my life.
Oh, that's awesome. So now let's jump to a different subject that is some people's cup of tea and not some people's cup of tea, but I've seen you've had your fair share of matches over the last handful of years with men and women, intergender wrestling. What's your view on intergender wrestling, and do you enjoy it, or do you just do whatever the booker asks you to, like in the indies and such?
I love intergender wrestling. I've made it a point in my career to do it as much as possible. First off, because I enjoy it. And, it's just a cornerstone of who I am. It doesn't matter who you are. You can be a man, a woman, whatever.
All right. So welcome back, Masha.
There, I'm back.
All right, so you have quite the unique event coming up here at WrestleCon weekend for Zicky Dice's Trouble in Paradise. Reminds me of the old Revenge of the Nerds movie. You are booked to wrestle a bear.
You said it. There it is.
It's Can you talk about like obviously Zicky Dice is a part of Impact Wrestling, you're part of Impact Wrestling. How did this like come together, and what circus is he in contact with?
Well, Zicky he's a good friend of mine. And we started talking about me doing this show on WrestleCon, and lo and behold, we decided that I was going to wrestle a bear. And it's going to be unbearable, I'm sure. And I hope he has a lot of money for the ASPCA.
Right. And make sure you bring a few fish with you. That'll calm the bear down. It'd be easy to pin him then. So now skip ahead to you've been wrestling all over the world, Japan, Canada, from coast to coast on the US. How did your wrestling for Impact Wrestling, how did you come across that opportunity?
Well, if we're talking this second time around, or return, shall we? That came after I was selected by Mickie James to wrestle on Empower for NWA, which later led her to choose me to be the Pick Your Poison competitor for Deanna at Knockouts Knockdown.
Which was an amazing match. I literally watched that just minutes again before we started having this conversation. It was an amazing match. And then you got the contract opportunity shortly after that, and congratulations on that again.
Thank you.
So now I want to skip to something else. I noticed in other interviews you have some music t-shirts on, some heavy metal t-shirts. Number one, do you love music even half as much as I do? And what are some of your favorite bands?
The answer is yes, I do. I've actually just acquired a new record player, which I'm excited to play.
Ah,
And I've
nice.
acquired a new vinyl of Cannibal Corpse, actually, which I'm going to play on said record. And of course, there's stuff like Power Trip, Testament, Candlemass, Doom, all of that stuff. Totally rocks. And,
Oh, love
my life could expand to other genres, but since we're on this, that's what I'm into.
tremendous. I love some old school Testament. Make sure you, if you can find some, practice what you preach. That's one of the best classics out there. Good stuff. Um, Now, when you were in um, Japan, you went by the name of Skin Ripper.
The first time I was in Japan,
Right,
that was
right,
years
right,
ago.
right. That was quite, yeah, that was when you first went to Japan, just getting your feet wet, so to speak, in the world of professional wrestling. How did the is that something you came up with? Did did someone in the dojo help come up with that? How did Skin Ripper come about?
Well, you will be surprised to learn that that is actually the translation of one of my family names, which is pronounced Shubadyorova, which translates to skin ripper. So, real name, just said in English. I thought it would sound cool. I was wrong.
Oh, but Skin Ripper is awesome, and that's what made me think of like the music. I'm like, oh, that sounds like a death metal band. That's awesome. Um, so the Pick Your Poison match with Diana Perrazzo, um, how was it to get that opportunity and wrestle one of the best just wrestlers in the world?
I was very much looking forward to it. Me and Deanna had wrestled a couple of months prior at Beyond Wrestling's Project
Okay.
Dolphin, which was also another awesome match. And I just enjoy working with Deanna. Like you said, she's one of the best. And I really think we both put our best foot forward in that match.
Yeah, you did. I mean, you didn't come out on the winning end, but you've been absolutely steamrolling over the competition ever since. And I can't wait to see what's next for you in Impact Wrestling, which, by the way, you can catch on the Impact Insiders on YouTube and Impact Plus. Now, I just have one last question for you, Masha, and thanks again for this opportunity. I really appreciate this. So we're in March, and you're, like I said, you're steamrolling over your opponents. At the end of this calendar year, what do you want your fans and or your enemies to be saying about you by the end of this year?
I want them to say the same thing I want them to say every single year, which is that I am one of the best wrestlers of any style, just in general. Women's wrestling, intergender, death match, hardcore, regular, pure rules, whatever you want. I want to be the absolute best in it, and I want the world to know it.
Awesome. And thanks again so much, Masha. You have a tremendous rest of your week, and thank you, Simon, for the opportunity as well.
Thank you guys both.